So today we're going to talk about the differences between a codependent and a covert narcissist.
Empowering women by their life lessons and manifestation skills, helping you reach your dreams faster. They did it. They'll show you how without making the same mistakes they did. One cowgirl, bull-raising childless wife with multiple businesses and streams of income who is manifesting her dreams into reality. She will help you with your weight loss and wealth goals, making you healthy and wealthy. One badass boy mom with a passion for energy, healing, health, and fitness. She will help you with healing and overcoming limited beliefs to manifest the life you've always dreamt. It's Tenneile and Candace, taking life by the horns.
Welcome to our podcast, Taking Life by the Horns.
And Take No Bull.
So today we're going to talk about the differences between a codependent and a covert narcissist. But first, our gratitudes. Candi, what are you thankful for?
You know, honestly, as we prepare for this podcast, I've had a lot of encounters with narcissists in my life. I grew up with a lot of them, and obviously that led to a lot of narcissistic relationships, including several failed marriages. And I'm very grateful for those experiences. I know most would disagree because if you've been a part of a narcissistic situation, they're very damaging, very traumatic. There's a lot of healing that needs to take place. So I am not downplaying this at all. For me, they really brought lessons to my life and really encouraged growth. So I really took those relationships and spun them and really created something really beautiful out of those. But trust me, I'm not downplaying these. And I actually have 4 personality tests on 2 of my ex-husbands. So I'm not just calling people narcissists. And in fact, today, I will not actually refer to anybody as a narcissist. I won't title you or label you that at all. That's not my job. But it kind of gave me a little bit of that reassurance that I wasn't going crazy and a little bit of that validation, having those tests like, okay, I really do know what this is. So that's my gratitude. How about yours?
Well, I'm thankful for all of our listeners and that you guys are coming and asking us questions and getting involved. And that's why we're doing this podcast today, because I was asked, okay, so we talked about a codependent. I know what a codependent is, but I've heard covert narcissist and it's sounding very familiar. So we're going to go in today and talk about the difference between a codependent and a covert narcissist. But first, let's kind of explain the difference between a covert narcissist and an overt narcissist. So a covert is more internal. So that's your...
They're not quite as aggressive, and they're not quite the same exhibitionist that an overt is. Overts are extroverts. Coverts are more introverts.
That's the word I was looking for, introverts.
Yeah. So the coverts are a little bit less aggressive. They're not the same exhibitionist. They're not putting themselves out there and loving the attention the same way that a covert does. So that's, I think, a huge difference between the different types of narcissists out there.
And we were discussing covert narcissists are usually women. Is that fair?
I think it's easier for women to get away with being covert narcissists because, you know, people can say, or women can claim, I'm just being overly emotional. It's my hormones. We get away, I think, a little bit more with using trauma as an excuse for some bad behavior. So I think it's easier for women to get away with being covert narcissists. And because of the way covert narcissists behave, and because they can be overdoers, pleasers, they like to help without being asked. That's a lot of women in the world. Right.
Okay. So not necessarily more are women, just that it may be easier for a woman to get away with some covert tendencies than a man.
So.
Okay.
Some other traits are they are very highly motivated by recognition and power. And a lot of overts are too, but coverts really seek out the recognition and the admiration. They really want to see that everything they're doing is really being acknowledged by others.
Okay. So they want everyone to see them, everyone to see what they're doing, and kind of come in as the hero. Would you say the hero complex?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so covert narcissist and narcissist. But the covert narcissist and the codependent have a lot in common as well. But there are some very crucial things that keep them different. So first, the things that they have in common, jealousy. So extreme jealousy of other people, other situations, everything. They compare to everyone else and are extremely jealous if things aren't exactly how they feel like they should be.
Yeah, I agree with those. Those are very overlapping. A codependent and a covert can also display signs of empathy. So a covert can pretend to have humiliation and humbleness. An overt won't be able to do that, but a covert can, which really overlaps with a codependent.
So a codependent does have a lot of empathy, but that's real empathy, where you're saying a covert
can pretend,
is pretending that they have empathy.
They
So
have
how can we tell if that is if it's true empathy or if it's not true empathy?
I mean, I think eventually a covert's going to have to give way. They're going to give and give for a little while. Like a codependent, we give and give and give and give until we die.
Forever.
Yeah. A covert will give and give, but if they're not getting some recognition back, then they're going to stop. And at some point, a covert, because they're a narcissist, will make you pay for all the work they had to do, for pretending to have empathy.
Okay. Where a codependent will eventually, they'll keep being empathetic, but then they'll become resentful that they're not getting something back. Oh. Where a covert narcissist, you're paying for it.
You're going to pay.
You're going to feel that.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, so control was one of my big things too.
Yeah.
That I think a codependent, if they admit it or not, they want to stay in control of things. And narcissists, all narcissists, covert even, have that control over other people.
Yeah.
Not let other people live their own lives, make their own decisions. Tough love, that's not something that's going to happen. It's control.
Yeah, I agree. I think another similarity they have is a covert narcissist will actually try to help people. And they will often take over without being asked because obviously a narcissist knows everything. So they come, I think that overlaps with the codependent. Like a narcissist thinks they know everything and they can fix it and they're just going to take over. You don't even have to ask and they're going to do it and you better do it their way. And a codependent will do the same thing. We jump in and we want to help you, but it's not always, sometimes it's our way, but that makes it a little bit hard to determine. Are you dealing with a codependent or are you dealing with a covert narcissist?
Yeah. So I think, it really breaks down to the intention.
Yeah.
What is the intention? A codependent, a lot of times it's, comes from a good place, good intentions, hoping for an outcome, hoping to help. And a covert narcissist, it's more about how is this going to help me? How is this going to help me? How am I going to improve? How am I going to be in the limelight? So intentions are huge.
I do think that narcissists and codependents still lie on the same spectrum. We're just at opposite ends of the spectrum. Narcissists at one side and codependents at the other, right? There's a middle ground. And I do think that both sides have very similar tendencies of manipulation, that control, right? So they're both very toxic, if you ask me. I think a codependent is just as toxic as a narcissist. We just don't hurt people quite as much as a narcissist does. Like, I don't think the trauma from a codependent takes healing the way that a narcissist does, but they, I think, equally have toxic tendencies with them.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. So I look at the codependent as having the martyr complex and the narcissist, the covert narcissist included, having a hero complex. So the codependent wants to be the martyr. They will throw themselves on the grenade to save everybody, where the narcissist would never throw themselves on a grenade. But they'll throw a fake grenade.
Yeah. Yeah.
And throw themselves on that maybe, and then they're the hero. So the difference between a martyr and a hero complex, somebody who wants to be the hero or be seen as the hero.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. They want that recognition. I mean, that's what it comes down to, right? They want that admiration. They want that recognition. They want people to see them as really something they're not. I mean, that's really what a narcissist is doing is constantly trying to search for something that they don't innately have within them. So they're searching for that and creating those situations. And by all means, they will force it if they need to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we really do not want to make light of this situation from somebody. I don't know what kind of experience you have with narcissist at all. Do you have any?
I'm learning. Yeah, hopefully not. But definitely I don't have any tests like you've had, but I have had some ex-friends that I believe were narcissists, but I have removed them from my life.
With the 4 personality tests I have back on my ex-husbands, I also had to do those. And of course, all of those came back as codependent for myself. So I also had proof in the pudding exactly what I was, but I knew before that. It was just there in black and white. So I really sought out therapy. I actually sought out therapy long before that. And I really sought out therapy after these things. When I finally decided that my last marriage was really taking its toll on me and really wearing me down, and I just couldn't do it anymore, I couldn't understand why I couldn't simply leave. And if you know narcissism and you know the trauma bond that they create, it makes it impossible to wrap your head around the thought of leaving. And I can remember I went to several therapists, and the final therapist I was at, I remember literally sitting in his office crying in my hands saying, tell me what to do, tell me what to do. And he said, leave. And I said, I know that, but how do I leave? How do I get myself out of this? And he said, you just leave. Clearly this therapist knew nothing about narcissism. And I even told the therapist, I'm not just calling my husband a narcissist because I believe he is, or, I'm trying to play a victim. Like, I have 2 personality tests that show he's a narcissist and has these narcissistic traits. And it kind of meant nothing to him. And it made actually my healing journey a lot harder. So I do highly recommend seeking help if you're in a narcissistic relationship. Just beware if you try to find a therapist, make sure you're finding a therapist that is specialized in narcissistic abuse. Because if you don't know narcissism and you don't understand it, it's very hard to wrap your head around. My friends and family would say, just leave, stop complaining, just leave. Nobody knew how hard that was. So I think you and I have talked about other things like support groups. I've mentioned this before. After that therapist said, just leave, I never went to therapy again. Not a single day in my life did I ever go back to therapy with him or anybody else again. And I sought out help with other people. And honestly, my biggest help was support groups online and support groups through social media. There's a lot of actually codependent ones and narcissistic ones. So you can join up with other people who are going through the exact same things you are. You can share your stories. You can hear how other people are handling it, how they've escaped, how they've healed. I stayed a part of these groups for a little while after the fact to just kind of mentor and help other women through it. There did come a point where I really had to break free of that. I couldn't be reliving that trauma over and over and over because it is very traumatic. And if you are there, then you know how bad it is. So that's my advice to everybody.
So find a therapist that knows how to handle narcissism and the trauma bond. Find a group and be open with your story.
And I think as friends too, if you're out there and you haven't experienced this, but maybe you have a friend or family member, somebody close to you that is experiencing narcissism, no, you don't know what it's about. Like have that empathy for them, that patience. Like you don't want to enable them to stay, but just telling them to leave and just to get over it. It is not that easy. And I think we'll probably do a lot more podcast episodes on narcissism and probably the trauma that it causes and, the trauma bond, things like that, because I don't think a lot of people understand those things. So if you're a friend out there, family member, loved one, do your best to support them, but maybe guide them to other people who really know what they're going through, like support groups.
Yeah. And listen to them without judgments or without telling them what they should do, because everybody has their own story. And it's not easy to take that step. As you've said, you can't just leave, as your therapist told you. So look for those groups, look for those friends, and then find that therapist that maybe can help you and dive in deeper.
Yeah, because we're not going to downplay that there really is a lot of trauma that is created from this. So you're going to have a lot of healing. And I think that like each one of those is probably its own episode, to be real.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the last takeaway is, if you want to identify if you're in a toxic relationship, is, are you being valued? Are you being mistreated? Are you being disregarded? Are you being discarded? Are your needs being met? Because if all of those answers are no, it's probably not a healthy relationship.
Yeah. Covert, codependent, overt narcissist, any of the above.
Yeah. So pay attention to how people make you feel, right? Pay attention to if your needs are being met and you're feeling fulfilled, or if you feel like you need to overgive and keep giving and keep making amends for somebody and keep giving them some grace over and over and over, those are red flags. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So hopefully that answered the question, the difference between a codependent and a covert narcissist. Thank you, guys. Take life by the horns, but take no bull. Where we are on a mission to empower 1 million women to step into their power, believe in their ability to live the life of their dreams, and fearlessly take life by the horns.